All right, hi friends. Back again with part four. Part four? Yeah, part four of our most important things mini series. I guess it's really becoming in, and it's been really, really good. If you missed the first three, you gotta check those out. The truths in there are so imperative for every family, team, for a pastor, a teacher, to be able to reinforce in the lives of their kids, because these are the things that will last. These are the things that will bring eternal fruit, create the legacy that you want to be able to pass down through your natural or your spiritual kids. So, before I go any farther, because I keep forgetting to mention this at the beginning, like this video, subscribe, share this video, comment please about the things that are standing out to you, questions you might have. And even though I may not respond to you in the video because I'm horrible at watching that, or might not respond immediately, because after the video then I usually go get a drink and then get bombed by my family, or not bombed, bombarded, that's the word. And so, but we will get back to you. We meaning probably Pastor Kate. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about, well, I want to build off of this because we talked about last week. Last week, oh my word. We talked about yesterday the importance of developing your ability to hear God's voice. It's so important through the written word, through prayer, through worship. There's so many avenues that God will speak to you, and you have to find out for yourself which way you tend to hear best, and also allow your kids to be able to develop that in their own way. Maybe their gifting may not be yours. Guess what? That means you are going to have to step out of your comfort zone and open the door for them to be able to encounter God, to hear God's voice in the way that they're created to hear, even in corporate times as a family, when it's not your favorite way to hear or way you connect with Him the best. That's part of leadership right there. Choosing what is best for others. Uh-oh, I did not lock the door. I'm being bombed.
Okay.
Hi.
I just doing a song.
You did a song? Oh, it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. I still gotta finish this one. I'll be out in just a sec, okay?
Can you play some song in there? Can you come out?
Yep, I'll come out and do a song with you. She loves worship. When worship comes on the TV, she's like, "Come worship with me, come worship." And so that's what she's. So we'll make this one a little bit shorter so I can go worship with my daughter. All right, so where are we headed today? Today we're diving into community. Do not forsake the gathering together of the saints. That's what it says in the word. That's what our Bible says. Acts 2 talks about how we should gather together. And it's not all about sitting and listening to teaching or worshiping together. Actually, worship isn't even in the list. That's a little crazy. We're not going to go there today. But what is important? Breaking bread together, gathering together, developing community. And I know on Sunday mornings going to church, it's really hard to develop community because you get there. If you're anything like my family, you're scrambling to get there when you wanted to. And so you are flying, trying to get everything wrapped up, get the kids out without having jelly dripped on their shirt or some other random thing. We had one day just recently where a kid didn't wear shoes. We're like, why did you load up in the car without shoes on? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe your family doesn't have moments like that. Ours definitely does. And so you go to church, you all split up into your own separate classrooms, and so none of you have an idea really about what the other is doing or learning or growing in. And then as soon as church is done, you're shooting off to go catch lunch with family or friends, or get home because you got to get XYZ done on your one day off, and so you're plowing through, and there's no space really left for community. And yet, community is one of the most important things in the life of your kid and if you haven't discovered it for yourself. It's so important. There are so many scriptures talking about a three-strand cord cannot be broken, about how important it is to have someone going with you through life, and that can mean your spouse, and a lot of times you're gonna need another dependable friend of the same sex as you as support, as someone to hold you accountable when you're going off or when you're not viewing life the way that you should. And I don't know why. Sometimes you'll receive it from a spouse, and sometimes you need it from the other person to speak it into your life. That's just how it is. God never created any of us to do our life apart from others. God's about connection, God's about unity. And you can't be in unity if you're by yourself. That's just the truth. Personally, I would love to be a hobbit, to hole away in my little backyard with my family, or just myself and my wife. Really, that's just the truth. And do the rest of my life from the contentment and ease of that space. But I could never accomplish the life that God has for me that way. So I could either settle for a life completely apart from his perfect plan, without the contentment and the peace that comes with that, the joy that comes with that, or I can force myself into doing life his way. And it always ends up working out better anyway. So how do we do this with our kids? How do we create this for our kids? Because I gotta say, when it's difficult for us as parents to develop a community of real Christian friends. Now let me pause, and I want to hit this because this is important. I'm not talking about hanging out with every single person at the church. I'm not talking about hanging out with every person at your homeschool group, because there are a lot that may not be as iron sharpens iron relationships. There may be some that will pull on you and never give back, or there may be some that would not be healthy for your family to have deep relationship with, and there might be some that you think would be great to have a relationship with, and God says no, or not yet. That's why it's so important to hear his voice and find out who he says you as a family should be hanging out with, that you as the parent needs to be connected with, and for your kids as well. What families have the kids that are going to reinforce the principles and the relationship with God that you want to see developed in your own kids' lives? How many have never asked that question before? You never evaluated it from a spiritual aspect. You're like, okay, they're fun to hang out with. My kids seem to like them. That's good. And they go to church, so that's a real bonus. It's all about community. My friend Pastor Mark Harper, he says there's 4 things that every kid needs if you don't want to see them fall away or experiment away from God in their teenage and college years. They need to have a family that grows spiritually together. They need to have good Christian friends. It's number 2. They need to have a place to serve, to use their gifts within the church, to know that they have a place, so that it's not just about them receiving, but they're also being pulled on to release who God has created them to be, to help others. That's huge. And then the 4th one is that they really experience God beyond just text, just beyond teaching. If that's all it gets to, they're not going to have any more value for church than they do science or math or physics or algebra. Well, I kind of just hit the same things twice, didn't I? You can see my values. Or Phi-Ed. Things that they may not necessarily look forward to in school. And so when they have a choice to be able to how to spend their time, I don't know too many kids that are like, hey, it's free time, hook me up with some math questions. It's not too many. And so if we can't take it deeper than the classroom encounter with God, then we're missing something. And so that's why, again, if you'd missed the previous previous sessions, part 1, 2, and 3 of this mini course, I guess you could call it, on most important things, you got to do that. And you got to find a way to make space for your kids to develop real Christian community with kids that are going after Him. I gotta say, for myself, that was one of the biggest things that kept me strong in my teenage years, is that I had a real tribe of Christian friends that were eagerly, desperately seeking after God, trying to grow in Him. And it really helped that our youth pastor made plenty of options for us to be able to take additional classes outside of just youth group with him to go deeper and expand our knowledge and learn and train and become who God wanted us to be as a group and as individuals. It was so important. And so what does that look like today? Especially if we have another round of churches shutting down for a pandemic or for um, greenhouse gases or something else that's crazy ridiculous. Or maybe they just increase the price of gas so much that we can't afford to drive to church every time. Find out who lives by you that goes to your church and make a phone call, parent to parent. Literally, you can say, hey, something like this. Hey, XYZ is an area that I want to see developed in my child's life. And I know that he or she, whichever, I don't know who your kids are, would love to have your child join them in this, because they're friends, and I think they could be even better friends if we can help them engage together spiritually. And so, would you be able to come over on such and such date, each week, and so that our kids can grow and develop in this? We'll get a workbook. There's a teacher guide, and that'll help us guide them through. And then you can read some, and I'll read some, and we'll do this together. We'll figure it out. It'd be huge. Nope, not ready. Please leave. I still am finishing. You gotta walk away. Now.
Okay.
So you can do that. And just make that phone call. What, may it be uncomfortable? Yeah, and that's okay. If it's uncomfortable, does it mean we shouldn't do it? No. Do it for the value or for the life of your kids' spiritual growth and maturity. It's worth it. Or another way is sign them up for like an online Bible study. That's what a lot of people are comparing Root Bible Academy to. Online Bible study where kids from all over the world that have families that are looking to grow spiritually between Sundays, they're logging in and developing some real great friendships with kids that they would never get to meet before. And instead of like a camp experience where you see them for a week and then they're gone for a year or maybe for the rest of their lives, or a missions trip that same way, they get to encounter God and grow together every single week with the same kids, as long as they keep joining into the same class on the same day, same time. It's so much fun. Plus, there's tons of tools for you as a parent to be able to develop this even further at home. Not putting the pressure on you, because we provide a lot of the tools. The only pressure I would put on you is to hear God's voice and to build community with it. Whether that means making sure that your kids are engaging in the classes, or maybe even inviting some of the local friends that they have from church. Hey, we're going to join this Root Bible Academy as an online Bible study. I think it could be really good, and I would love to have your son or daughter jump in this same time frames with us. We can both test it out, see what it's like, and our kids will feel more comfortable jumping in because they already know someone right off the bat going in. Why not give it a shot? Right now, Root Bible Academy is name your own price anyway, so you can literally put down the price that you think this training every single week for every single age group is worth for your family, plus the parent tools. Put it down. You can always change it later, or test it out. See what you think. So, what am I saying here? Community is so important for your kids. They need to have a base of Christian friends that are going after God the way that you want them to, the way that you want your kids to. So find a way, take the time, set it apart. I know our schedules are busy, but if our schedules are too busy to fit in what's most important, then we may have to make some changes. Even when it's hard, even when it's not fun, go back to part 1 again if you missed that, because these are the things that are going to help our kids mature spiritually and become who God has created them to be. And they cannot do it alone. They need a base of other Christian friends and other Christians speaking into them. All right. Well, that's it for this week. I will see you again next week. Thanks for joining me. And again, if you want to partner with what God is doing through Root, enabling trainings like this, the online Bible studies are not free, even though we allow people to sign up for free. It has a real cost on our end. Plus, if we are going to accomplish the things that God has been speaking to us, we are going to need to expand our monthly partner base. And so go to rootbibleacademy.com/partner if you want to begin to sow monthly into what God is accomplishing through Root Bible. Or go to just rootbibleacademy.com to learn more about the online Bible studies for your entire family. All right. I'm Josh Richter. I think I forgot to say that at the beginning. Comment, share, like this video, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.